Okay, so sweet spot mowing height. For the most part, I mow my lawn at 2.4 inches, and that is setting 3 on the EGO original 20-inch lawnmower. And I have a 20-inch push reel mower that I mow on 2 inches. That goes from 1 to 3 inches in quarter-inch increments. So if you can see here, this is around my little curve here, and the grass gets a lot thicker here, and I know I overseeded a little bit heavier here, but you can see I call this like where the grass starts toupéing itself into each other, where it's like almost like crisscrossing, like the waffle weave Lay's potato chips or whatever. So it's like crisscrossing itself, and it starts to get really thick, and then once it starts to do that, any of those bare spots kind of start to get crowded out. So what I like to do here is I do have to mow this shorter. So get to know your lawn and get to know the areas that you need to mow at certain heights. So for me, I know this curve here, I need to keep this at 1.8 or it's going to get out of control if I keep it at 2.4. And then my lawn, this was mowed at 2.4 a couple cuttings ago. So it's, for the most part, this was mowed at 1.8. 2 cuttings ago, and now it's at 2.4 again. The whole lawn's at 2.4. There's still the slightest bit of differentiation there, where the part closest to the neighbor line was originally at 1.8 a few cuttings ago, and I can tell that there's just the slightest difference in color. So I'm going to try to keep it at 2.4 until I know that we're getting close to the end of the season. So I can even take this down in one day if I needed to. I can mow it multiple times in the same day, dropping it down little by little. I can mow it 3 or 4 times if I want it to go from 2.4 to 2 or to even 1 3/4. Usually I'll keep it at 2 going into winter for the first snow, but for the most part, I'm not going to need to do that until November. I can probably keep it at 2.4 or 2, go down to 2 around Halloween. Usually around Halloween is when I'll start to drop it around 2. But these spots aren't filling in here. This has nothing to do with the mowing height sweet spot part, but if you're asking yourself what's going on here, I ran out of ryegrass seed, and the ryegrass seed would for sure help these areas to fill in faster than my bluegrass. So unfortunately, this is the area that I've dealt with squirrel and skunk issues. So I'm having some bare spots here, but another thing with sweet spot mowing height, you might mow different sections at different heights. So for instance, the boulevard, you could mow at a different height than your main lawn, but for me, I usually mow them at the same height. So right now we're at 4:23 is the time. So you can see right now I'm facing east towards the house, and behind me is the sun right now. So this is true to color. I feel like actually it's a little bit darker in person than it is on camera, if I'm being honest. And I will take you to my corner here. You're actually going to get a little bit of shade from the tree across the street. Yeah, so I guess I lied. I do get some shade. So that is my my famous little triangle here that I do. Famous to me anyways, because I've done it for 18 years. But so yeah, find your sweet spot mowing height, and what works for you is what you should do. So if you see people online that are like, oh, I cut my lawn at, 10 mil, that's probably not going to work for you. I don't know if you have a regular reel mower or not, but don't get caught up in the mowing heights that you see other people doing just because you think you're like, oh, it'll be so cool to mow my lawn that low or that high. Like, oh, I want to mow it at 4 inches or 4.5 inches, or I want to mow it at 0.5 or 0.35. Do what your lawn is telling you, and you're going to find, I promise you, you're going to find it when you're like, you know what, my lawn looks the best at this. And I've personally known this for years, what my lawn has looked the best at, and it's always looked the best on 3, on the 3rd setting at 2.4. But then once I got the push reel mower and I was able to shave off a 1/4 inch here and then a 1/4 inch there to go down to 2 1/4 and then into 2 inches, I noticed a huge difference. And I know that I can't get that same cut dropping down to 1.8 on the EGO with a cylinder mower, because then I start scalping and getting unevenness, and I don't get that sharp cut. So, okay, so I'm gonna wrap it up with that. I don't think there's really much more to say about finding your sweet spot mowing height. And just know that on your lawn, you might find areas where you need to bump it up or down a notch based on the elevation of your lawn changes, or if you have a thicker grass spot. So like I had mentioned on this little curve over here. So I hope that makes a little bit more sense, since I didn't totally talk about it in the previous video where I had that in the title. But I've seen mowing heights talked about for all of these years that I followed people on YouTube for lawn stuff, probably for 8 to 10 years now. And I've been doing this for as long, and my own lawn for 18 years. So yeah, find your sweet spot mowing height. Let me know what it is. Let me know what mower you're using. Let me know what grass type you have. Let me know where you're at in the country. I would love to know more people in Macomb that have nice lawns, to see what kind of stuff they're using. I try to use as little as possible. I have tried a fair amount of different things that I've seen popular on YouTube. I am actually a big fan of Simple Lawn Solutions. I have a ton of their products and I've used them for years. So I do love that stuff and I like that, but there's just so many new things coming out all the time now, and I'm like, I feel like the less stuff you use and the simpler you keep it, you can still get the same results that you did when you were putting all kinds of other things in your lawn. So okay, so clearly this is a completely different day, but I'm editing this video and I wanted to add in one more thing. So along with adjusting your mower height for elevation changes, so when you have higher or lower spots and you don't want to scalp and get mower rings, and also if you have areas of thicker grass, I wanted to talk about areas where you may have undesirable grasses. So for instance, this area I get quackgrass. It's either quackgrass or nutsedge. I think I actually might have both here. So and when you have areas like that, one of the best things you can do, they consider this to be cultural practices. So for cultural practice of lowering your mower height deck, basically you try to mow that as often and as low as you can without scalping it, to kind of keep it under control. And it does work. For me, it's usually the worst in the summertime. But if I mow it more frequently, and if I mow it like 1 or 2 notches lower, it definitely helps to keep it from getting out of control. One other thing, so along with undesirable grasses, I like to keep my my property lines just slightly lower, just to keep things in check. So that's it. That's really all I want to add. So that's this spot here, and I'm going to come back over here. So I do have this area where I call it the Starbucks straws. So I think it's a fescue. Maybe it's a fescue or Johnson grass, but I mow my area just a little bit shorter, or I'll even mow it on the same height multiple times just to kind of get it down as much as possible. So again, here I have a high spot from when I did my renovation a few years ago, and when I overseed it, and I built up this area a little bit too much. So that's why I constantly get a scout mark here if I'm trying to drop my mower deck down a little bit too low. And then this here on the other side, this is the main lawn. This is the swale between the houses, and I do tend to mow that a little bit lower. So again, it's not because I know that I have thicker grass. I don't have it, although it is kind of partially because of an elevation change. So excuse me, I'm kind of battling like a little bit of being under the weather today. So so where the swale is, this is also an area where I've noticed that I have a lot more of the neighbors' bent grass creeping in. So I want to keep that as low as possible, and just to keep mowing it off to keep it from getting out of control. So that's all. I just wanted to pop this in here to add that in. I thought it was important to mention about if you have an undesirable grass that's like almost impossible to get rid of. If you mow it more often and lower, it will help to get it under control. This green is just looking too good. I can't stop looking at it, but I have to go feed Willow. So thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Go find your sweet spot mowing height.